So with no further ado, we would love to start the conversation with Representative Tlaib. I'm going to do a really brief introduction. I feel like we don't need to do an introduction for you, but I'm going to do it anyway, just as a reminder. So Rashida Tlaib has represented Michigan's 13th district in Congress since 2018. Since then, she's been an outspoken champ for unrestricted direct cash policies, sponsoring multiple pieces of legislation geared towards getting more income directly into the pockets of everyday Americans. We're very excited to have you here. And of course, the first thing that we want to talk about, because we know it's been a huge effort for many, many months, is to hear a little bit more from your perspective. What is going on with the state of the CTC and how things are looking on the Hill regarding that piece of legislation?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate, first of all, just the incredible work that you all do, and just know, and I'm not kidding when I tell you all, I still need credibility of what I'm saying, even though I've lived it myself personally, with two immigrant parents, they're working class, and as well as representing the third poorest congressional district in the country. So I see the frontline communities that are impacted and not doing enough to combat poverty in a powerful way, in an impactful way that's sustainable and real and meaningful. And so you all are giving credibility to what I'm saying. I don't care if it's a study or report, this constant speaking of the truth of what's happening. So I just want to thank you all for that. In regards to the child tax credit, which you all should be so, you're all aware that it is probably one of the most impactful things that was done through the American Rescue Plan. It was transformative for families. I mean, you're talking about 61 million children in nearly 36 homes, right? 36 million homes that got CTC payment in December. Families received some of up to, 250 per month. Some even 300 per month for those that are under 6 years old. I mean, half of the expanded CTC has already paid out in monthly increments over the last 6 months in 2021. The other half will be, were paid later on. And one of the things that we saw is just the dramatic drop, I think like by 45% of children living in poverty, like dropped, so that they were able to get the necessities that they need. In the House, you all know, we passed the Build Back Better. Build Back Better, which included the extension of the child tax credit, which I believe there shouldn't be no extension or sunset on it. It should be permanent. But in that Build Back Better, that is where we tucked in, like, we need to extend it. We need to continue that work that we have done with the child tax credit. Unfortunately, Build Back Better, due to corporate-backed Democrats and obviously unified Republican opposition, the bill did not receive action, and the child tax credit expansion was allowed to expire, which is really just very painful for many of the families that really relied on that support, again, to provide necessities they needed to protect, to help their families. And so just know that, one, if anything, we now know it worked. That's the thing that they can't take away from us. It worked. We know what works, and that did work. And we need to go back and make sure the folks in the Senate understand that we're not going to quit working and trying to address this in this way. And that child tax credit, if anything, showed just how incredibly important it is.
Awesome. Yeah, the data set that came out of that, I mean, you were just saying, some of those really huge numbers of folks that were impacted in the positive way. It is hard to understand how those bare, hard data points aren't moving the needle for more folks in Congress. But it does, I think it's a great kind of segue into a piece of legislation that you recently authored and presented, the End Poverty Act, and would just love to know what's the kind of impetus behind that, and how does it fit into this larger conversation?
So one, you all should know, I'm a mother of 2, but I'm also the eldest of 14 children. So I've been taking care of people all my life. But one thing to know about that is the End Child Poverty Act for me is because I'm a social worker at heart, organically, because of being the eldest, and the kind of go-to child for my parents on a number of things. And so implementation is critical. And one of the things I know is earned income tax credit, something that we all saw was the most impactful anti-poverty program, very successful when it was first created. But one of the things that we know is it still left people out, and including that now the rising cost of living in our country and so much more, EITC wasn't going far enough. And that's why I think we obviously push for the child tax credit and so much more. So just know that this is basically based on a simple premise that no family should ever enter poverty solely because they have added a child to their family. And this bill would expand on the groundbreaking, of course, child tax credit expansion to create a universal child allowance administration. So here's the implementation, the social worker hat. So when the child is born, it's true though, it's so important. When the child is born, at the time that the child is born, the child will be enrolled into this universal income bracket of being allowed to get this monthly payment for the child. And so just like they apply for Social Security at the time of birth and getting that paperwork done, they would also be able to get the universal child allowance right there. And it would be administered through the Social Security Administration. It is about $393, around $380, $390 per child per month. This number equals the difference between the one-person poverty line and the two-person poverty line. So you all know, and it brings all the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit all together, and just says, okay, this is how we're going to administrate it. And again, to me, that kind of form of implementation would have the most impact. We know that Social Security Administration is able to do it because currently they send out about 50 million monthly checks to our seniors. And so they have the capacity to be able to send out the nation's 77 million children that would be able to automatically, again, be able to receive this payment. What I also love about it, about the universal child benefit, it would make it easier for working class people to afford the necessity, but also know this, enrollment at birth, because you guys know we had to, when I worked at nonprofit human services agency, and you guys know this, we get all this stuff, they still have to go fill out a form right when it happens. You gotta, it's all those things that I think leaves a lot of money at the table, because one, I think it creates that barrier that somebody might not know. I know for my mom, any form was so incredibly intimidating. It's like, where does she go to get it? Is it going to be, something that is easily understood? And so all of that came into play as Representative Mondier Jones and I thought about how we can make the most impact and build on what we did with the child tax credit. Know that, of course, you guys know the People's Policy Project, but you know that it would cut poverty up to 64% and also cut deep child poverty by 70%. So I'm really excited about this bold action and getting more and more people, more families to see that government can be about people. We did it with Social Security. We did it in providing healthcare for children as well as seniors. And this is something that I know if we can get it done, people will look back and say, we can't live without this. This is so incredibly important, especially for children to be able to thrive. And to me, this is what equitable equity and access looks like, is again, being able to have this right at birth, no exceptions, no forms. It's done right then and there, and they'll be able to again access that those dollars that is much needed again for so many families.
That's fantastic. So we are a pretty broad group of organizers, of nonprofit folks, policy folks. Is kind of a pretty, everything you need to build the movement is here in this community and on this call. And I would love to understand from your perspective, what can we do to help continue the work, of either promoting and pushing the End Poverty Act forward, or just kind of keeping this as part of the dialogue so that Congress hears.
Yeah, I mean, you all should know, I will work with anyone. Trust me. I mean, the forever impeached president, I impeached him twice. He still signed a consumer protection bill. And I will work with anybody interested in fighting poverty and getting cash assistance to our families, including Senator Romney, who's out there, promoting the Family Security Act. I know my proposal has similarities in Senator Romney's plan, but Senator Romney's plan also replaces child tax credit and earned income tax credit with a simple cash benefit administered by SSA as well. However, his benefit has And that's where I feel like we might lose people. And you know, ours is slightly, more generous. And that, again, you know, for us, it's like, if we're going to go bold, let's go bold and do it nice. But again, I feel like the Child Poverty Act is truly universal. But, you know, I'd come to the table to figure out, again, if the goal is to try to cut poverty more than half among children, then I want to be able to sit down with anybody doing it. I know his program also eliminates or reduces various assistance programs, including, TANF, which is so important, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to fund his benefit. I don't share that approach. I don't think we have to cut all those essential programs to be able to pay for this. I know where we can pay for this, and you all know where we can pay for this. I believe, cash assistance can and should supplement our existing social safety nets. These are critical programs. I remember Shirley Chisholm, and the first African-American woman ever elected in Congress, said, children can't learn if they're hungry. And that's where a lot of these programs came about. Those are very much still essential. I cannot see our country not having TANF or SNAP benefits in replace to this cash assistance. We can do all of those things. And I think it's required by us being one of the wealthiest countries in the world. We can do all of those things. Again, I don't believe we need to eliminate programs because they're effective, and we know that because we have the data that says it, for us to be able to get a universal cash benefit program to many of our families. But again, I'm ready to sit at the table and talk about this. And if anything, the child tax credit showed like what is incredibly possible at this moment to help our children thrive.
Wonderful. Well, I know you have the next thing to get to, and I know it's also very late where you are, so I appreciate you taking time.
I just want you all to know I'm a mom. Right now, my 11-year-old decided this is the time he wanted to clean his room because he wanted something. He had
the vacuum.
He does to get his gaming piece back. But he's out there right now. I don't know if folks you probably can't hear it, but it's just like very distracting right now. I just want you guys to know you have a partner in me, a real partner, really, really, because if there's something that we can be transformative in our country, is that no child should live in poverty. We have so many people that focus on making sure, on all these fronts about access to healthcare for women and all this, but there are so many children right now that are living among us, that are living in poverty, and we should have no excuse to be able to take care of them. We have high rates of mortality that I know is connected to poverty levels. So just no, please, 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 that you all give credibility to the work, continue doing it. The fact that we even got child tax credit, even for the married and that expired, it did something to shake up things, because now they're afraid to continue it. And we're going to continue it because we know, again, that it worked and that it was effective. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go to my son and thank him for deciding right now at 8:20 p.m. that this is the time he would go ahead and finally clean his room when he knew I was doing this program. So thank you all so much. I take care.
Thank you so much, Representative Tlaib. Take care.